Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Gopi Janavallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yamna Tira Vanachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Vihari. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayana Namaskritya Narang Cheva Narottamang Deving Sarasating Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Nashtapraishva Bhadreshu Nityanga Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavat Yuttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Sa Evam Swantarang Ninye Sa Evam Swantarang Ninye. This is the right one, huh? Sa Evam Swantarang Ninye Yuganang Eka Sakting Saptating Yuganang Eka Saptatim Yuganam Eka Saptatim Vasudeva Prasangena Vasudeva Prasangena Paribhuta Gati Traya Paribhuta Gati Traya Sa Evang Santarang Ninye Yuganameka saptating Vasudeva prasangena Paribhuta gatitraya Saivang svantarang ninye Yuganameka saptating Vasudeva prasangena Paribhuta gatitraya Sevang svantarang ninye Ladies? Yeah, that's fine. We'll wait till she's done. Svantarang ninye Yuganameka saptatim Vasudeva prasangena Paribhuta gatitraya Sa He Swayambhuva Manu Evang thus So antaram his own period Ninye past Yuganam of the cycles of 4 ages. Eka Saptatim 71. Vasudeva with Vasudeva. Prasangena by topics connected. Paribhuta transcendental. Transcended. Gatitraya, the 3 destinations. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila Prabhupada. He passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages. That's 71 times 4,320,000 years. Always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus, he transcended the 3 destinations. Purport. The 3 destinations are meant for persons who are under the control of the 3 modes of material nature. These destinations are sometimes described as the awakened, dreaming, and unconscious stages. In Bhagavad Gita, the 3 destinations are described as the destinations of persons in the modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance. It is stated in the Gita that those who are in the mode of goodness are promoted to better living conditions in higher planets, and those who are in the mode of passion remain within this material world on earth or on the heavenly planets. But those who are in the mode of ignorance are degraded to an animal life on planets where life is lower than human. But one who is Krishna conscious is above these 3 modes of material nature. It is stated in Bhagavad Gita that anyone who engages in devotional service to the Lord automatically becomes transcendental to the 3 destinations of material nature and is situated in the Brahma Bhuta, or self-realized stage. Although Swayambhuva Manu, the ruler of this material world, appeared to be absorbed in material happiness, he was neither in the mode of goodness nor in the modes of passion or ignorance, but in the transcendental stage. Therefore, one who engages in devotional service is always liberated. Bilvamangal Thakur, a great devotee of the Lord, stated, "If I have unflinching devotion in the lotus feet of Krishna, then Mother Liberation is always engaged in my service. The complete perfection of material enjoyment, religion, and economic development is at my command." People are after dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Generally, they perform religious activities to achieve some material gain, and they engage in material activity for sense gratification. After being frustrated in material sense gratification, one wants to be liberated and become one with the absolute truth. These four principles form the transcendental path for the less intelligent. Those who are actually intelligent engage in Krishna consciousness, not caring for these four principles of the transcendental method. They at once elevate themselves to the transcendental platform, which is above liberation. Liberation is not a very great achievement for a devotee, to say nothing of the results of ritualistic performances in religion, economic development, or the materialistic life of sense gratification. Devotees do not care for these. They are situated always on the transcendental platform of the Brahmabhuta stage of self-realization. Om Jnana Timirandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuram Nityangyena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Savdantikam. So again, the translation: he passed his time, which lasted 71 cycles of the 4 ages. That's 71 times 4,320,000 years, always thinking of Vasudeva and always engaged in matters regarding Vasudeva. Thus, he transcended the 3 destinations. So this goes up to 9 o'clock, right? So, why is that? It's frozen. So here in this verse, it says that Swayambhu Manu was, basically sets an example for humanity in that he's always absorbed in Vasudeva. Manu is the author of Manu Samhita, the rule book for humanity. In this age, of course, we can't follow this very easily, these rules, laws. Laws are based on values or dharma. So Manu is called, Manu Samhita is part of Dharma Shastra. Dharma provides the rules for the universe. Everyone follows dharma, some type of dharma. In human society, we follow various forms of dharma for our elevation, supposed to be for our elevation. And of course, Prabhupada explains dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. So dharma is meant for gradual elevation. If we follow these, Prabhupada says, religious principles, of course, that could be religion without God. We don't have that concept in Western culture. But Buddhist dharma is without God. And there's also dasyu dharma, which means dharma of the thieves. So dharma doesn't necessarily mean the highest type of dharma. But dharma, artha, kama, in the purport, Prabhupada talks about dharma, artha, kama, and then moksha. So dharma means principled life, living an honest, principled life according to established tradition and religion. Religion in the sense of being guided by higher principles. It's not just that modern society is based on humanism, largely on humanism, but there are higher principles. Beyond humans, we have to behave properly towards animals and beyond humans. So there has to be a higher motivation. So dharma generally is meant to elevate humans to that higher dimension, higher realm. So following dharma, then one gets material wealth, and one uses that wealth for sense gratification. The idea, though, is to use wealth for yajna. Yajna brings elevation and detachment from the material realm, and ultimately progression towards liberation. Yajna provides enough detachment from the material pursuits by diverting the results, by diverting artha to yajna instead of sense gratification. It brings about detachment. This is discussed in 3rd, 4th, and 12th chapters of Bhagavad Gita. So the yajna then can progress to moksha, liberation. But Krishna consciousness is beyond even moksha. So I wasn't really prepared for this class, but I've been preparing something for the last 15 years on Vaishnava ecology. And just within the last 2 days, I've developed Vaishnava ecology for students 16 to 19 years old. In general, in the temples, there's not much training for 16 to 19-year-olds members of our congregation, and even going out into the world. There are a lot of college programs. There are a lot of, in India, Radhesham Prabhu has developed a program for university students. He has something like 10,000 university students throughout the country, throughout India, either living in 250 houses that are near universities and colleges. These students live in those quarters. They run something like temples. They have Mangalarti, they have a period for chanting japa, and they're expected to chant 16 rounds if they live in those houses. They attend classes, and they have various duties. These houses are run by fourth-year students, university students in their fourth year, and then they actively recruit the first-year students as they come into the universities. And they have certain methods for how they do this, and sort of bridge methods that they in that way they introduce the students to chanting Hare Krishna 16 rounds. Arjun Prabhu is trying to establish a similar program in the United States, as are others. So Radhe Shyam Prabhu is extremely successful, and the GBC and others have noticed his success, and they asked him to start working in the United States. So I also decided to partner with Radhe Shyam because I've been working for some years on something called Vaishnava cultural ecology. Cultural ecology is something that means I suppose, in the environmental world or academic world, it means how the environment affects culture and how culture affects the environment. So this is a Vaishnava cultural ecology, meaning how the Vaishnava culture of hundreds of millions of people affects nature. So I'm going to start, this is a little unusual, but since I was given short notice, I'm going to take the liberty to start with a speech about Greta Thunberg, by Greta Thunberg to the United Nations. She's a 16-year-old, or at the time she was 16 years old, and she was speaking the United Nations. She's a climate change activist. So I like Greta Thunberg because she's an intelligent young woman, and she's very forthright, pursues her goals. But her goals are a liberal socialistic agenda that have nothing to do with the Supreme or any form of the Supreme. Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, polytheistic, whatever form. Nothing like that. The idea of Krishna consciousness is that the demigods, like Manu, he controls the planets, the world, that Ishavasyamidang sarvam yat kincha jagat yang jagat, that the supreme Isha is in control and owns everything. So this concept is absent in these liberal socialist ideas. Generally, they focus on laws, treaties, and technologies. So in this case, she's pushing for laws and treaties. So here's if I can play this, I don't know if it will allow me to. Okay. We'll try this version.
This is all wrong. I shouldn't be up here. I should be back in school on the other side of the ocean.
So she starts with a very
Yet you all come to us young people.
impassioned delivery.
How dare you? You have stolen my dreams.
Now she's
My childhood with your empty words. And yet I'm one of the lucky ones.
very well known throughout the world and she has some between 1 and 2 million followers who are willing to go out and demonstrate.
Of a mass extinction.
She talks about mass extinction. Some scientists believe this. This is not a
Eternal economic growth.
conspiracy or quack idea. She talks about eternal economic growth. That's a socialist perspective, capitalist.
In 30 years, the science has been crystal clear.
So science, now she talks about the scientific perspective.
And come here saying that you're doing enough when the politics and solutions needed are still nowhere in sight.
Politics and solutions.
Say you hear us and that you understand the urgency. But no matter how sad and angry I am, I do not want to believe that.
It's a-
Because if you really understood the situation and still kept on failing to act, then you would be evil, and that I refuse to believe.
Very good rhetorical points. Somebody in the background gasps.
The popular
So excellent speech. She says that if you get the knowledge of this and you refuse to act, I refuse to believe that you will be evil.
cutting our emissions in half in 10 years only gives us a 50% chance.
So now she talks about the
5 degrees
technology. She's
woman hidden by toxic air pollution only, so a 50% risk.
I'm jumping ahead
2008.
here. So she's arguing that these lawmakers are talking about a 50% reduction, but she's saying no, it should be more.
Gone within less than 8.5 years. There will not be any solution
So less emotional and more
in line with these figures
of a scientific
because these numbers
presentation.
are comfortable, and you are still not mature enough to tell it like it is.
Not mature enough. See how bold she is. She's 16 years old and she's telling the
People are starting to understand.
leaders, these are United Nations people. So everybody commented after she gave this, Putin, Trump, because it was during his time. Everyone commented on her. Some people calling her just a child, she's under control of whoever, her parents or whoever has some motivation or something like that. But she provoked conversation all over the world. India blocked her organization because their policy is different from hers. Generally, Asia doesn't like these sort of socialist European perspectives, so they're
Your betrayal.
I don't either, but the point is that I'll show you what the point is in a minute.
Of all future generations are upon you.
So here's how she closes.
If you choose to fail us, I say we will never forgive you.
So very impassioned. We will never forgive you. Somehow or other, a 16-year-old kid was able to penetrate this. So this is meant to, as I said in the beginning, this is for students 16 to 19 years old. I want to start by speaking to our congregation members, and ideally we want to penetrate high schools. I'm going to go on with this show, but I'm just taking a little break here for a little background. The reason for this is because although I want to pattern this as much as possible after Radhe Shyam Prabhu, because Radhe Shyam in Pune is extremely successful in preaching and recruiting young people from universities. In India, the young people are more innocent. It's far more rare for them to be experimenting with drugs and alcohol and sex, although they do in the universities. But in American universities, this distraction it's a very high percentage. Students being distracted by parties and drugs and sex and alcohol. And not only that, but students in the U.S. are very much locked in by a huge amount of money that's required for university education. So I decided high schools would be a better target, that students are a little less contaminated. Still, drugs and alcohol is there, but to a lesser degree. And there's a famous sociologist from the 50s who, his analysis of movements, of course in the 50s he was talking more about communist and Nazi movement, but his analysis of movements in general was that that anyone in transition is a person who joins a movement. Of course, this is a generalization, but people who are in transition tend to join movements. Though they tend to, not all of them, but they tend to be the sort of demographic, the people who join movements. So adolescence, that's a transition period. Young people tend to join movements. Somebody who just gets out of the military, for example, and has to transition from military to society. Maybe somebody who gets divorced, that's a transitions in life. So sometimes old people who are transitioning towards death or something like that. So young people, so these high school students, although this is theoretical, it's not yet put into practice, but this is the concept to target this to young people. Now, after this is just an introduction here, but there's a 24-hour course that goes along with this to develop all these points that you'll see. You'll see the essence in a couple of minutes. So Thunberg is emotional, but she's talking about people who are suffering, that we're in the beginning of a mass extinction. You can see that, right? She criticizes eternal economic growth. So this is a problem that socialists especially criticize. We also are against this concept, but we have different solutions. Their solutions are impractical. Then she emphasizes political solutions. And she talks about scientific studies, doubtful of relying on technical solutions. But she wants a political solution that restricts carbon emissions. Of course, this is impractical because that means people must consume fewer fossil fuels. And people are addicted to energy. So why are we showing her? Because the solutions she wants are shallow and impractical. Because Vaishnava culture has the solution. Because we want you 16 to 19-year-old people, to become influential like her. We want you to learn the Vaishnava solution and teach others. We want to start a youth movement under your leadership, young people leading younger people. So to do that, you must learn Vaishnava solutions along with how to be a leader. So here's the problem. Here's the actual problem and the actual solution. Overconsumption of natural resources is the root problem. Overconsumption is a polite word for greed. In the Bhāgavatam, it says that if one is hungry or thirsty, one can quench one's thirst or satisfy one's hunger. It says that if one is angry, one can express anger and receive the results, that one can receive the response to that anger. And then it's dissipated. So anger and its response, finished. But greed there's no satisfaction of greed. That cannot be satisfied like hunger. It burns everywhere. The whole world can be devoured by greed, which is what's happening with overconsumption. It causes air pollution, waste, resource depletion, deforestation, all this. So in other words, using too much causes humans to force too much out of nature. This is what Hiranyakashipu did. By fear, the oceans yielded minerals and the earth yielded its harvest. So by fear, that can be done. So we see everything going on nicely. We're all eating food. We're all living nicely in America especially. But that's because of force, not because of harmony with nature. So the solution is for us to be satisfied with less. Modern society, as it is structured, cannot consume less. They will never consume less. Based on the economy, the mentality, the cultural values, it can't happen. But Vaishnava culture has a long history of harmony with nature and less consumption. So how? Why does Vaishnava culture consume less? Well, satisfaction and enjoyment are the keys to less consumption. Modern global culture is based on consumption. People in modern culture are urged to consume more and more for their enjoyment. But Vaishnavas are urged to consume less because there's a different kind of enjoyment and satisfaction in Vaishnava culture. And again, we're talking about hundreds of millions of people through thousands of years. We're not just talking about ISKCON, few thousand, few tens of thousands, or Gaudiya Vaishnava culture, some millions, but hundreds of millions all over the world through thousands of years. So culturally, Vaishnavas enjoy leelas and namas. Leelas and namas sustain Vaishnava culture. So consider this. This is about ecology, it's about the environment, but I'm not talking about farms or agrarian economy or simple living, high thinking, none of that. I'm saying that the culture is based on leelas and namas. Just consider it. Think about Vaishnava culture. Think about how art, drama, dance, music, festivals, home and temple worship, literature, sculpture, and architecture, how all of these are based on leelas and namas. Art. When did you see Vaishnava art that didn't depict a leela? Sometimes it depicts the Supreme Personality of Godhead standing alone, just like behind you, you see Krishna. But here it's Nrsingadev, that's a leela. You see Krishna and the gopis on a boat, that's a leela. There's Krishna and Arjuna, there's the Bhagavad Gita leela. There's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu dancing, that's a leela. There's the Lord Chaitanya dancing in the forest of Jharikanda, that's a leela. So all these art, drama, this drama we had on, when was it? Last Sunday? Thursday. Nrsingadev, that's a drama, that's a leela. It's a dance, leelas. Manipur, they have the Ras Leela. They always do the Ras Leela dance. So different regions have dances. Music, kirtan, bhajan, glorifying Leelas. We sing in Vrindavan, Vibhavari Shesha Aloka Pravesha, Nidira Chari Uttho Jiva, Bolo, Hari Hari Mukunda Murari. And then the whole rest of the song, some 48 different names of Krishna, and most of them are descriptions of Leelas. So Leela and Nama, interrelated. Festivals, Rath Yatra, this is a Leela, this is a festival celebrating a Leela. Home and temple worship. Some worship Ram, Sitaram, Lakshman, Hanuman. So this is like also, of course this is Rupa, Nam, Leela, Rupa, but there's also Leela involved, and Radha Krishna, and Bal Krishna, some Narayana. Literature, Śrimad Bhāgavatam, Ramayana, Mahabharata, all Leelas. So, Leelas and Namas, the next point here, they divert money away from overconsumption. So this is practical. This is the Sankirtan economy, because Leelas, glorification of Leelas and Namas is Sankirtan. Money. Rath Yatra takes a lot of money. So instead of somebody's sense gratification, money was used for Rath Yatra. Leelas and Namas foster emotional attachment, satisfaction, and enjoyment. And that happens across the entire culture of millions of people. So this is our solution to environmental problems. Because environmental problems are caused by overconsumption, and we, Vaishnavas, as a whole, we may see exceptions because of materialistic influence, because of the influence of modern global culture. There are many examples you can see of Vaishnavas who don't strictly follow, or because of Maya. But the culture on average of Vaishnava per capita consumes far, far less than a person per capita in the modern global culture. So why can't we bring this up? And why is that? Less consumption, Leelas and Namas. And another reason, when I thought of this for years, for hours, pacing up and down, what would Prabhupada want me to do? Prabhupada would want me to present Sankirtan as the solution. Sankirtan is the solution. So Greta, this is for conversation in a class setting. She has a shallow, dangerous solution. Why is it dangerous? Because it's speculative. There's no proof that any of these. She wants technologies, laws, and treaties between countries. So it's a dangerous solution because they're depending on something that if your house is on fire and you decide to pour teaspoons of water on the fire, or you decide some concoction, you think that bars of soap will work, just some idiotic concoctions, well, that's a dangerous solution. Vaishnavas have the real solution because it's proven. It's a proven cultural solution that's working now, that's been working for thousands of years. So to invent some solution, throw bars of soap in the fire. Dangerous, because the fire will keep burning. The Vaishnava solution is far better. Vaishnava solution is proven. Hers is not. And youth, this is directed at our youth, 16 to 19. You can be like Greta and broadcast the Vaishnava solution. Start by learning it and speaking about it to your ability. So the last slide. Although cultures are not perfect, Vaishnava society is far more harmonious with nature than modern culture. Vaishnavas have the real solutions. And they are social and cultural, not just spiritual like chanting Hare Krishna. Sometimes people object. I'm not interested in spiritual life. I'm not interested in religion. I don't want to chant your Hare Krishna. Well, are you interested in the fact that your house is on fire? This is a social, cultural solution. And if you don't adopt this solution, your house is going to burn. So some time or other. It's not that we're saying this is doomsday. This is not doomsday preaching. We're saying that it's happening, it's inconvenient, it's discussions of the ocean waters rising and perhaps affecting cities and coastal areas. And we already know that groundwater is being depleted. Groundwater means the water reservoirs that are underneath, mainly cities are doing this, and some agricultural methods. So the groundwater is being depleted, and for it to replenish takes hundreds, if not thousands of years. So there are real problems that are visible problems, not just, say, climate change. People argue back and forth. But real, definite, some species are extinct. It's natural for species to become extinct, but humans cause a lot of problems. Land contamination because of certain farming methods. So then river and ocean pollution. There's in the Atlantic and Pacific. There's large areas with a lot of plastic. So there are a lot of effects of overconsumption. Overconsumption due to kama. It's due to sense gratification and greed. We understand that philosophically. So now it's time to preach, because now is the best time. We have the example of greed there, staring everyone in the face. So we can simply say it, there it is. Now you have to accept our culture, because it's the only way. Your culture has failed. So, next to the last line, let's start a cultural revolution. Prabhupada said, what is it? Tad bhag visargo janatagha viplavo. Viplavo means revolution, and janatagha means the janata means the people. Jana means people. And agha means sinful, like aghari, agha. So that's the sinful population, sinful civilization, full of sense gratification, causing destruction to the planet. Bhumi can take care of herself. It's not our responsibility. But it is our responsibility as followers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to somehow spread Sankirtan, spread this Sankirtan movement. So this is our opportunity. We can present this to people, not as an attempt to save the planet. Who are we to save the planet? No, we are devotees of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. It's our responsibility to spread Sankirtan, and this is a method for spreading Sankirtan. It's not a method for saving the planet. Bhumi can easily wipe out humans by some virus or something. So, Sankirtan. And spreading Sankirtan is Upadesha. Upadesha, Prabhupada explains, is giving instructions and glorifying Krishna, like Bhagavad Gita and Śrimad Bhāgavatam. Bhagavad Gita means to give the instructions of Krishna, the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, and Śrimad Bhāgavatam means to glorify the leelas and namas of Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Vishnu, Nrsimhadev. So we're not limited to Krishna Leela. Nrsimhadev, Vamana, Matsya, Kurma. So all these avatars. Prabhupada said we could have unlimited festivals in unlimited cities. So that's Sankirtan. And Harinam every day with at least 50 devotees. Yeah? 50. Yeah. Oh, or 100. So this is the goal. This is the goal of this program, to recruit more devotees. Radhe Shyam Prabhu in Pune, he has 10,000 students chanting 16 rounds. We want 10,000, and at least some percentage will be going on Harinam. So what do we say? Like 10, 15%? What's that? 1,000. So we'll take 1,000, spread them around, do Harinam. Just imagine what we could do with 250 devotees. If we had 250 devotees here in New York going on daily Harinam, so you take 100 out of those 250, and then we send like 25 or 30 break-up parties, send them all around Queens, Staten Island, Long Island, Bronx, maybe New Jersey, I don't know. Is that a place? Anyway, so we send them all around, and what an impact. For 8 million people, all we need is 250 devotees to make a tremendous impact. We used to, in the 70s, we used to be everywhere with just a few devotees going around. 10, 15, 20, 25 devotees would be going around chanting everywhere. Such an impact that Hollywood movies had to have us on the side of the street just to have an authentic street scene. The hero would be running down the street, and he would run past a group of Hare Krishnas chanting. That's all. We would just be, in the scene for a few seconds. But it had to have an authentic downtown street scene. There had to be Hare Krishna devotees chanting. That's how much impact we had on the culture. But with a few devotees, with 200 devotees, even 150 devotees here in the temple, we can make a huge impact. With 250, we'd be in people's faces. I mean, look at this. We go out with these white and orange, we stick out like anything chanting this Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. And people walk by and we become part of the culture. They can't avoid us. They try. A lot of them go across the street even. They can't avoid us. We always hear about that. People say, I used to go across the street, and then finally I asked to find out what you guys are all about. I took one of your books, and then I became a devotee. So that's our goal. And the experiment is start with 16 to 19-year-old kids. They want a social revolution, we'll give them a social revolution. They want to talk about the environment, we'll talk about the environment with real solutions. The real solution is a culture that celebrates leelas and namas, and people are more satisfied. They know how to enjoy life without destroying the environment. It's simple. 9 o'clock, exactly, according to my watch. Any questions, comments, objections? Give me the hard questions. I've been pacing back and forth for years, looking at what are the questions that people are going to assail me with, from both devotees and non-devotees. Yes?
Well, one question is how are we going to fit 250 devotees in a temple?
Okay, that's a good question. And as a matter of fact, I've been talking about 250 devotees while I've been here, and I've had that question before. If you've ever been to Chopati, you'll see that there's wall-to-wall devotees.
Yeah, but
There's wall-to-wall devotees in Chopati. The brahmacharis sleep in the temple room. I mean, how many devotees could we fit in here? What do you think, like 50 or 75? I think we could get 70 in here if we really had to. But I would say that 30 to 40 could fit comfortably in here. I'll tell you, in the 70s, we used to sleep on the stairwell. You go up the stairs, there's a landing there as you turn to go up the next stair. Devotees used to sleep on those. I was telling devotees, I was reminding them, yeah, we used to sleep on those. And they said, no, Dayānanda, we used to sleep on the stairs.
yeah, but
No, yeah, but.
there is a yeah, but
Huh?
you're not just going to get people that are used, especially on the East Coast, Northeast. They're not just going to be like, okay, I'm going to leave my bed to sleep on the floor in a mass communal. Like it's actually an issue. It's a practical issue. Plus, then you have to have people to cook for them. And people want like instant gratification. They're literally born with 4-year-olds that have phones in their hand.
Have you ever,
Their parents don't want to like.
have you ever heard of camping? These kids don't want to go camping, huh?
Yeah, but camping's still not communal living, sleeping on the floor. It's not like, I don't really know how you guys handled that. But
Me-
no, it's not even really funny.
The military is communal living. A lot of people join the military. We have a military of over 1 million people. So the military is communal living, camping is sleeping on the floor. Maybe your demographic doesn't, but maybe you have doubts about.
It's not that I have doubts, I just come from, like, there's a lot of people that have campers, like, I don't actually know any, to be honest, in my personal life, I don't know anyone that just goes camping for camping's sake. They want to go to a resort. This is the Northeast, it's like,
Well, devotees said that when Prabhupada said, that, I don't want to compare myself to Prabhupada, but when Prabhupada said that they should produce, 19 Chaitanya Charitamritas in a month, and Rameshwar said, well, that's really impossible, Srila Prabhupada. Impossible. Prabhupada said, impossible is a word in a fool's dictionary. So, yeah, we were all living like that. In Bombay, in Chopati, I saw these brahmacharis. They were living in the Chopati temple, living simple lives, sleeping on the floor. And every one of them was a graduate from a top university. Top university. Maybe I would say 5 to 10% of them could have come to this country and made $250,000 a year eventually, had they worked at it. Maybe some of them would have made $500,000 a year. These are top young men, brahmacharis, in the temple, sleeping on the floor. I was in Kurmagram, which is which is a village that devotees started, 100 devotees, no electricity, no running water, sleeping on the floor. And the floor, they spread cow dung, like some kind of paste of cow dung with water or whatever. And then, so they used to, every couple of weeks, I guess they mopped it. I didn't see how they did it, but the cow dung. Even Radha Swami, he took me to his quarters in Chowpatty, and he said, see this on the walls? His walls have cow dung on them. So he's very pleased with that. So they sleep on cow dung. So the head brahmachari there, he was an engineer in Hyderabad, working for a big engineering company, and he decided to become a full-time devotee, brahmachari. So here he's living, sleeping on the floor. He's an engineer. He could make a very good salary. And there was another man I met. He was a householder living in the house there with a daughter who was maybe 12, 13 years old. So he had been working in Houston. So you know he was making reasonably good money in Houston, probably somewhere between 70 and 100,000 a year in IT. So Houston, he said, you know, he just got tired of working in that sort of materialistic atmosphere. So he goes to Kurmagram, no electricity, no running water, and his whole family, they can tolerate this. They enjoy it. Beautiful. Mangalarti there is beautiful with all ghee lamps. They have ghee lamps on the altar and around the temple. That's how they light the temple. Beautiful, beautiful atmosphere. So yeah, a lot of people won't buy it, of course. But there's 330 million people in this country, and I don't know how many are between 16 to 19, but they somehow managed to get 1 million people to join the military, and there's a threat of death.
Well, there's promises like you get to go to college after. There's so many promises they have.
Yeah. Well, we can make promises too.
But I'm just saying, they need to have a really practical approach to 16, 19-year-olds, because there's the ones that think there's promise. And if they don't, then they're super depressed and you're not even going to see them.
Okay. We'll see. Yeah? Okay. So this is a course I want to teach Ryan.